I'm just telling you the answer to the question. When you were reading me those statements, I'm telling you the response by the other side, who publishes also, is that if that was the case, there could be no expert witness testimony in the courtroom.
Psychiatrists are ethically prohibited from evaluating individuals without permission or other authorization, such as a court order. That's the rule, right?
Again, if you're reading that, then I have to believe you're not misrepresenting it. And I would come back to, again, then this whole thing on expert, we might as well get rid of all the expert witnesses we've had throughout all of time for court proceedings. Because what you're saying is unless a court orders it, and that's what you just said, or the APA said, then therefore expert witnesses cannot do an evaluation based on an observation of the medical records. Insurance companies cannot do evaluations solely based on the medical record where their doctors rendering professional opinions. So at the end of the day, you are essentially saying that unless someone has directly evaluated it, this whole medical system we have, this whole legal system we have, is null and void.
I'm not saying...
No, yes, you are, sir. No, you are.
Well, give me a second, and I'll give you more than a second. What I'm saying, and what I am
He's
reading
taking
to
so
you
personal, this guy.
is a rule by your organization that takes into account that there could be court orders that would permit the exact kind of evaluation that you say I'm eliminating.
And I think we're going in circles because I think I just said that means expert witness testimony would not be allowed, and the branch of forensic psychiatry would be especially hindered. And we know the branch of forensic psychiatry does not prohibit that. So I am a member of the APA. That doesn't necessarily mean every single thing they put in there, everybody has to uncategorically agree with, because clearly that's not the case.
Did you agree in your deposition that the professional opinions you rendered were inconsistent with the Goldwater rule?
Yeah, my first was inconsistent. If we're saying that if the Goldwater rule says, and I very much said that during deposition, that the Goldwater rule was made for presidents and public figures such as that, but regardless of that, because that's what it was made for. It's not made for Hollywood, but I'll even take that Mr. Depp's a public figure. What I'm saying to you is that the Goldwater rule is saying we cannot do any expert witness testimony in our field. That is exactly what the Goldwater rule is saying based on exactly what you read. And I'm just telling you what you are saying that rule encompasses.
What I'm asking you, sir, is did you comply with the ethical requirements of the APA when rendering the professional opinions that you've rendered today?
It is a requirement of the APA. It is not the requirement of the APA. Secondarily,
so the answer is no?
Secondarily, again, in order to not, we wasted our whole morning because there was an expert witness before me. There's an expert witness everyone brought in. So all I'm saying to you, that means the whole field of medical legal law is corrupt and unethical for engaging in an act that the APA clearly says we should not do. So if you're saying that, then the answer is yes, I'm agreeing with that statement.
You're agreeing that the APA would deem your testimony and your professional opinions rendered unethical.
Again, I'm saying you are saying that the whole, I'm an expert witness.
Oh my God,
I'm
the
saying
guy was
as
laughing,
an
the lawyer
witness,
is like, gotcha.
And solely as an expert witness.
God.
That guideline is permitting that from occurring. I would say then that the whole field of expert witness testimony, again, would be disavowed by what you are quoting in the Goldwater rule. And we know that's not the case, because if it was, we would not be allowed to do it.
And you said the rule was for presidents, right? And
that was initially for presidents,
yes. And the name of the rule came from that. But the rule says it is unethical for a psychiatrist to offer a professional opinion about an individual. That's right, sir. It's not just presidents, it's not public figures, it's individuals.
Funny, it was named after the, according to your logic, if you don't put something in the title, it's not true. That's what you told me this morning, I believe, at my intimate partner violence. So what I would say to you then, sir, is that if you say this about an individual, again,
This guy is getting
court
so
would have
pissed.
to render an expert witness
He's taking
testimony
it so
invalid.
personal.
Any doctor
Oh my
that
God,
reviews
it's
charts would have to
hilarious.
render it invalid. I
Oh
can go
my
on
God,
the
this
list
guy's
of docs
gonna
that do
be
not
like-
see or interview patients directly, and that's a violation. So basically, you are saying that unless you do a
This
direct
guy's
clinical
gonna be a meme
evaluation,
for a
then
month.
all of the
Oh my
field of
God.
forensic psychiatry and all of managed care is doing an unethical violation because we are not seeing the presence. We deny patients medications
Oh
all
my
the time
God.
without seeing them. We deny
Dude.
patients treatments, unfortunately, without seeing them.
Just
and I'm
tell
on the
your
receiving
opinion
end of
and
that.
go,
So
please.
the answer to your question, again, unless you are saying to me that all of this is unethical, which is what you are saying. This is how I'm interpreting what you are saying to me. That unless you do the evaluation directly yourself, therefore, it cannot be considered ethical. And I'm telling you how that's applicable to not just expert law, but also managed care. It's applicable to multiple branches of medicine. Duration of hospitalization stay, they get evaluated. So tell me where you want me to end this.
Well,
Sir.
why don't we talk about what you just testified to? Because I didn't ask you anything about that. I asked you whether, under this rubric, under this principle of medical ethics, have you acted unethically? Yes or no?
No. As an expert witness, I have not acted unethically. And if you want the jury to believe that expert witnesses are unethical, then I guess that's for them to decide.
Yes
That's
or no,
for them
sir.
to
You
decide.
said no. Let's go to the next question.
Okay.
Right? Psychiatric diagnosis occurs in the context of an evaluation based on thorough history-taking examination and
Oh,
where
this
applicable,
lawyer is
collated
just
or collateral information. You'll agree with that?
I believe I
dug
said
a
that
hole
earlier,
for
yes.
this guy so big
And
that
it's
he's
a
never going to
departure
get out
from
of
the
it.
from the methods of the profession to render an opinion without an examination and without conducting an evaluation in accordance with the standards of psychiatric practice. Correct?
Well, again, by the way, for the record, intimate partner violence is not a psychiatric diagnosis. I'll start with that. Substance usage by themselves is not a psychiatric diagnosis. If you want to cut to the chase, psychiatry is not a diagnosis of that. Narcissistic personality traits is not a diagnosis. Ergo, I am basically commenting on the things that were brought to me, which are not diagnosis. But an evaluation, if I was going to treat a patient or anyone here, those are the steps I would take.
We, I think, started with the notion that this rule applies broader than diagnoses. It applies to professional opinions.
I believe
and
you
you've
just
rendered
quoted
professional opinions relative to narcissistic personality traits, haven't you, sir? Relative to Mr. Depp.
Again, I believe you just commented on what it takes to do in a psychiatric evaluation to establish a diagnosis. I'm almost certain that's what you said. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you didn't say that, but I'm sure you did. And therefore, what I'm saying is neither IPV, nor substance usage, nor narcissistic personality traits a psychiatric diagnosis. And then under the rubric of expert witness testimony, you are saying I acted unethically under the rubric of expert witness testimony. So if you, sir, would like to proceed that expert witnesses are unethical, based on that, I am not going to sit here and disagree with you and waste everyone's time. I think it's fairly obvious. But thank you. I'll go ahead. These were your words. I'm just saying them back how they're interpreted.
Okay. Let's start with the easy question then. Maybe we can.
That was pretty easy. Go ahead.
All right, Doctor, you're going to have to just answer the questions.
Okay. Sorry about that. Getting into it.
You need to just answer the questions,
Okay.
Dr. Speaker.
You are not rendering any diagnosis whatsoever of Mr. Depp today or ever.
No, I probably would say to you that certainly I would not say narcissistic personalities, or I would say traits. Certainly, from what I have read, intimate partner violence is not a diagnosis. So the answer is no for that. Narcissistic personality traits is not a diagnosis. The answer is no. But if you want to tell me that substance use disorder is a psychiatric diagnosis, the answer is yes.
my God, this goes
And
too much.
But that wasn't an issue, was it? Whether Mr. Depp
Oh my
used
God, this guy's
substances.
too much.
I mean, you said you've gone through the record. That wasn't really an issue at this trial. He's said it from day one.
Oh, so you're saying he's already admitted to the diagnosis?
He's already admitted to the use of the substances.
Well, again, there's a difference between admitting to substance use and substance use disorder.
Let's go back to what you just said about narcissistic personality traits.
Yes.
Narcissistic personality disorder is a DSM-5
Guys, hit the like. Please hit the like or subscribe.
Correct,
I would appreciate that.
Diagnostic personality, and you haven't testified that Mr. Depp has narcissistic personality disorder, have you?
I would certainly, if I didn't, I'm certainly thinking that, but at least I'm going to say he has traits, which are characteristics of provisional diagnosis of, it's a provisional diagnosis of probably narcissistic personality disorder. But yeah, I mean, I do believe that.
Well, when you say provisional diagnosis, you know the DSM-5 requires, in order to find that diagnosis, 5 of the 9 factors. Mm-hmm. And you haven't done that analysis. You've never made that diagnosis. You've just identified certain factors
that are criteria for the diagnosis.
Right. But you need 5 of 9 to get to the diagnosis. You've already told us that you didn't make a diagnosis. You're just identifying traits, correct?
I'm identifying traits that are consistent with the diagnosis, yes.
Right.
Very good.
And did you testify in deposition that the existence of traits, as opposed to the disorder, doesn't have a correlation with IPV?
If I said traits do not have a correlation with the, if that's what I said, and I don't remember saying that, but that wouldn't be a correct saying. Narcissism has a correlation with the diagnosis. Yes, that part's true.
All right, how far are we going to back this up? Because there's a diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder, right?
Yes, sir.
And that one is tied, has some correlation with IPV, right?
Narcissism has correlation with IPV. Again, you're not allowing me to answer. You're splitting hairs. You're splitting hairs between the traits that are consistent with, which all I'm commenting on is behaviors and traits that are consistent with the diagnosis. And Mr. Depp, narcissism absolutely has risk factors associated with IPV.
Let's go back again, and maybe we can focus on the question I ask you, and we can get an answer that's addressed to that question.
This guy's losing it. Oh my
Narcissistic personality disorder is a risk factor for IPV. Yes or no?
Yes.
And you previously testified that there is no literature at which you are currently aware that the mere presence of narcissistic traits is a risk factor for IPV.
Am I answering the question?
Yes.
That's incorrect.
You didn't testify that.
A cluster B traits, which narcissistic personality disorder is part of, is a huge risk factor for intimate partner violence, which include, cluster B traits include narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, amongst others. So the answer to the question is every resource on intimate partner violence will support that cluster B traits, where narcissistic personality falls under, is a risk factor for intimate partner violence.
Any single trait is a risk factor for IPV.
Again, I will repeat, cluster B traits. I didn't say any trait. I said cluster. No,
let me be more precise then.
Okay.
Any narcissistic trait in and of itself is a risk factor for IPV.
But you are mischaracterizing what I said. What I said, I'm pretty sure I said cluster. If you look at all the intimate partner violence literature, and I would behoove you to do so, you will see that cluster B traits, I didn't say narcissistic per se, cluster B traits, where narcissistic personality disorder is part of, are risk factors for intimate partner violence, part and parcel uniformly true. And I'm not sure, the thing I don't understand is, I'm not sure why we're arguing psychiatry, because I'm telling you what it is.
Dr. Siegel, you just need to answer the questions.
Okay.
Sir, you want to talk about cluster B, so let's do that.
The
for
guy
a
is
minute.
thinking personal, man. This guy, like,
Borderline personality disorder is a risk factor for IPV.
As part of cluster B traits, yes.
Histrionic personality disorder is a risk factor for IPV.
Less so.
But it
Less so. Less so. I mean,
cluster B.
it's a risk factor, but less so, yes.
Yeah.
Less so. Significantly less so.
All right. So, which traits under narcissistic? Before I move on there's only been one diagnosis in court of personality disorders, correct?
oh
I'm
man,
not
this
sure who you're
lawyer is
referring to.
good. This lawyer is good.
Are you referring to
Bam.
Mr. Depp, Ms. Hurt? Who? I'm not sure what you were talking about.
And
Do
you
you
don't know.
understand that there was a medical examination done of Ms. Hurt?
Yes, I did.
Do you understand that the testimony was ultimately that Ms. Hurd suffers from 2 personality disorders?
Okay, so I'm just being specific. I just wanted to know if you're talking about Ms. Hurt or Mr. Depp. So that's all I was asking you.
Yes or no to my question?
Which was there's only one diagnosis of Ms. Hurt was diagnosed with that.
Yeah. And both of the diagnoses are in cluster B, and both of them are risk factors for IPV.
Bam.
But both those
Bam.
cluster B things are. I'm not
Bam.
allowed to comment on the testing, so therefore,
That's
all
where
I
the
can say is
experience comes
that
in of
cluster
this
B
lawyer.
traits, and I'll tell you what
Bam.
they are. And by the way, I testified this before, which
Mic
was
drop.
that one, I don't expect perfection
Oh
from
my
my
God.
victims.
Mic
2,
drop.
absolutely there were cluster B traits Ms. Hurt had. Absolutely, Ms. Hurt had.
Given that you've testified to it before, let's move on to a new question.
Oh my God.
All right?
This lawyer.
You
Bam.
indicated, in your opinion today, that you
Oh
thought.
my God.
Well, why don't we move a little differently? Are you a member of the American Medical Association?
No.
Okay, so you don't know what the ethical rule of the American Medical Association is relative to doing
The guy's losing it.
clinical diagnoses about individuals you've never talked to.
So you're saying in terms of doing expert witness evaluations under that rubric, right?
I'm just asking you, do you know the AMA's rule?
You're saying the AMA's ruling under the rubric of not doing evaluation with someone you did not see, and I'm questioning, I'm asking, so you are talking about expert witness testimony.
No, I'm talking about, do you know the rule?
I'm not a member of the AMA, so I don't,
Okay,
I don't
great.
read the rubric.
We
Okay.
can move on. You don't know the rule.
Huh?
All right.
Oh
You
my God.
rendered an opinion about Mr. Depp's purported cognitive impairment.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you use as a baseline?
A baseline for processing speed?
Yeah, for analyzing Mr. Depp before you watched his deposition.
What I use a baseline for that?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess my baseline would probably be how I've seen him interact in public. How I've seen him interact with others. I've seen him interact in
Oh my
media.
God.
I've seen him interact and
This
his process
lawyer.
speed is certainly
This
not
lawyer
slow.
deserves
I've seen him do
all the
commercials.
money
His
gets
process
paid.
speed was not slow.
At deposition, didn't you say that what you did was compare Mr. Depp's performance in lots of pirate movies against his deposition testimony
What
here?
what I said was I've seen Mr. Depp
Oh my God.
do apology ads. I remember he did an apology ad with Bad Dog with no delay in process speed. I've seen him interact with the media regarding to that. I saw no delay in processing speed. All I'm saying
Let
to you
me
is,
ask you about pirates, though. You
Oh, my
compared
God.
pirates to the to the depositions given in this case.
then I apologize for what I said. Then I misspoke.
You misspoke. You didn't make the comparison.
Right now, just a second ago? Just a second ago, I may have said that I misspoke. I apologize, I misspoke.
Okay. Because you know you can't compare pirates to sworn testimony, right?
Yes.
Oh my God. This lawyer kills
But
me.
you can, but as an aside, you can judge someone's processing speed at any time. Like I'm judging yours right now, you're judging mine. We all judge processing speed as a baseline because of what we know about each other. And I would say your processing speed right now
Judge,
is not slow.
intervene.
So, I mean, we're
Judge.
judging processing speed. I'm just saying.
Intervene.
Yeah. But no, any of Mr. Depp's other portrayals in movies, did that affect your analysis of processing speed?
Only I've seen him interact on interviews, and that was it.
Right.
When he wasn't in movies.
Right. But Willy Wonka doesn't matter to you? You see him in that movie, Charlie and Chocolate Factory? Did you look at that one when you were comparing his processing speed?
The guy. Oh my God, the guy's losing it.
Do I have to answer that question, Your Honor?
You have to answer questions. Yes, sir.
No, you'll be happy to know I didn't see Willy Wonka I didn't see 21 Jump Street when it happened or whatever it was about. No, I did not.
All right.
The guy's just losing it.
Oh my God. You made a very kind admission, I think, early on.